Welcome to Detroit. Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and 3 toes. I will beat your ass. You can drown them. And that's what we gotta be. That's who we have to be. Because that's our domain. That is our domain. Because we'll tread water as long as it takes to fucking bury you.
Takes the snap, turns, gives to Montgomery, right side, end zone, touchdown, Detroit Lions! Yes.
We are driven by Detroit.
Hello, Detroit Lions friends, fans, and family members. Welcome on back to yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I'm your host, David T. Pike. And as always, we're diving on in. So, folks, we obviously know that we play the Cowboys on Thursday night. It's a big game. It's a game that holds a lot of weight for both teams in terms of playoffs. It's a game that holds a lot of weight in terms of respective division races. It's a game that holds an immense amount of weight just in terms of the fact of who the teams are. This is going to be a playoff game. It's going to have a playoff-style atmosphere. It's going to have a playoff-level intensity. And I'm going to tell you this right now. It's a must-win game for Detroit. No two ways about it. But I know this. I've already said it a few times this week. I know that for many Lions fans, not all, but I know for many of them, they're of the mind to pack in the season, stick a fork in it, and, to look with both eyes towards the offseason, and they don't give a damn one way or the other which way the game goes. For those that are of that mindset, they probably are more about losing the game so that way we get a better draft pick. For those that are on the opposite side, they want to win so that way they can continue to, look to possibly getting into the playoffs. And you know what? Everyone's going to have their viewpoint. Can't really change a person's viewpoint once they've already made their mind up unless they're openly receptive to the idea of having their mind changed. But I know this for a fact. The Lions, they're not looking towards the offseason. They're not looking towards anything except Thursday night when they play the Cowboys. And while a good amount of Lions fans have already written the game off, don't really care if it's going to be a loss or a win because of the reasons that I just stated, the Lions themselves are not surrendering to despondency, and they're not quitting. And so long as the Lions continue to, look at their matchups the way that, I'm talking about and the way that they're presenting it to us fans, that's exactly the way I'm going to do it. And by doing that, I'm going to figure out what is the best way, in my opinion, for the Lions to win. And I'm going to tell you this right now. It's not going to be an easy game, but it is a winnable game. And to me, the reason why this game is winnable is a twofold point. The first point is due to how the Cowboys defense has been playing over the course of this season and how it's played over the last couple of weeks against certain positions. The second reason is building upon that and looking not necessarily at the defensive personnel itself and how it's performed, but looking at who runs the defense and how we have performed against that defense. Because let's understand something here. Who is the defensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys? That would be Matt Eberflus. Us Lions fans and the Lions themselves are very, very familiar with Eberflus's defense. We played the damn defense 6 times in his tenure as the head coach. I'm going to say this right now. That last one, obviously he wasn't the head coach anymore because the Bears fired him after the Thanksgiving Day loss in 2024, but that defensive scheme was still his. There's no way they would have changed it that fast because they wouldn't have had any chance to do so. So it would have still been his defense. The Lions are very, very familiar with the style of defense that Matt Eberflus likes to run. They're very familiar with the style of play that he likes to, exhibit with his defenses. And as such, they're also very familiar with what they need to do in order to beat that defense. Now, once you understand that, it then correlates in to what I believe is the best strategy that the Lions need to employ to beat the Dallas Cowboys and their defense. Obviously, the offense is a completely different kettle of fish, and that's something else we'd have to talk about, at a later date or possibly later on in the day that I release this video. I have to first and foremost do my research. But for this particular episode, when we're talking about the Dallas Cowboys defense, the best way to beat them is through the air. The best way to win against them is by throwing the ball, which to me spells this. The best way the Lions have a chance to beat the Cowboys Thursday night at home is off of Jared Goff's right arm. Now, I want to make this abundantly clear. That does not mean the Lions just, for whatever reason, abandon the run. That's not going to happen first and foremost. This ain't Madden. You can't just run a pass play every single play until the end of the game and somehow expect you're going to win. That's not the way that's going to work. The Lions still have to run the ball. But what I'm saying here is that the Lions, if they want to have a better shot of winning, in my opinion, they're going to want to run the ball just enough in order to keep the Cowboys defense and Matt Eberflus honest and guessing. Now, why am I saying this? Well, as everybody already knows about this Cowboys defense, they have a ridiculously talented defensive line core. They have got a lot of good talent on that defensive line. They've got two of the best, if not the two best interior defensive linemen on the same roster in Kenny Clark and Quinnen Williams. Then, on the outside, they've got Dante Fowler and they've got Jadeveon Clowney. And on top of that, they also have another old friend of the Lions. They've also got James Houston. So it's like, okay, we know quite a number of the guys that we're going to be going up against because we've played them or we have, had them on our team quite a bit. Houston was with us for 2 years. Freaking, Kenny Clark played with the Packers for a number of years, played against him quite a bit. Same thing with Jadeveon Clowney in the past. He's played against us a couple of times. And obviously, like I said, Matt Eberflus was the head coach of the Bears for, 3 years pretty much. So the Lions are very, very familiar with this defense. They're very familiar with how it's ran. They're very familiar with the personnel that they're going to be going up against. And saying that, we know the type of interior defensive lineman that Kenny Clark and Quinnen Williams are. They're big, powerful run stuffers. Well, I'm going to tell you this right now. That does not bode well for trying to base an entire offensive game plan around running the ball. It just does not bode well. Now, some people are going to say, well, David, I've heard that the Cowboys have a really good defensive pass rush. They also do have that as well. They have the highest pressure rate on quarterbacks of any defense in the NFL at 29.3%. So it's like, okay here. They've got a really good interior defensive line. They've got the ability to pressure the quarterback. So it doesn't sound like the Lions have really any good kind of ability offensively to get anywhere because their defensive line, it just sounds better than our offensive line. And let's just call it for what it is. It probably is. So naturally, a lot of people, probably all of you, are going to look at me and be like, well, David, why then are you advocating that we should have the offensive game plan around throwing the ball if this is a defense that's really good at pressuring the quarterback? Well, there's two reasons. Number one, let's take a look at who the quarterback for us is. That'd be Jared Goff. And if there's one thing I can say with absolutely unequivocal, accuracy this year, is that Jared Goff has been dealing with pressure all damn year long, And despite dealing with all the pressure that he's dealt with all damn year long, he has posted an excellent statistical season. If you take a look at Goff's numbers for the year, he is literally top 5 or top 2 in virtually most everything. He's ranked second in completion percentage at 69.8%. He's ranked sixth in passing yards with 3,025. He's tied second in passing touchdowns with 25. He's ranked second in pass touchdown percentage with 6.6. He's tied sixth in interceptions with 5. He's tied fifth in interception percentage per throw with 1.3. And he's ranked third with passer rating at 110.2. So despite the fact that Goff has been behind a shaky offensive line, he has played as a top 5 quarterback. The stats pointed out, the rankings pointed out, which is a complete absolute opposite of what we have seen and heard about Goff in the past. Whenever he gets pressure, he absolutely folds up shop. He can't play, he can't do anything. Numbers prove otherwise. And if you don't think that's proof enough, go back to the game that Goff just played against the Packers. Goff was pressured on 46.7% of his dropbacks, if I recall correctly. And you want to know what Goff's numbers were in that game? Oh, that's right. I got them wrote right here. He was 20 of 26 for 76.9 completion percentage rate, 256 yards for 9.8 an average a throw, 2 passing touchdowns for 7.7 touchdown percentage rate, 0 interceptions for 0 interception percentage rate, 132.9 passer rating, with an 85.7 QBR. And let's just call it for what it is. The Packers defense is immensely better than the Cowboys defense. And especially when we consider what I'm specifically talking about here. Let me show you what the Cowboys defense has been able to do this year so far in terms of pass defense. Let me just put this out there for you. It's pretty damn, powerful, proof that to me says that if the Lions want to win this game, they're going to want to make sure that Goff throws the ball quite a bit. Because take a look at the numbers. In terms of completion percentage they've given up to quarterbacks, they're tied 26th with the Washington Commanders at 68%. They are ranked 31st in passing yards given up with 3,018, which that is the same exact ranking that we had going up against the Commanders for their defense in Week 10. They are dead last in the NFL in terms of passing touchdowns given up with 28. They're tied 25th in interceptions that they have garnered with only 5. They are ranked 30th in passes defended with only 31, and they're ranked 30th in passer rating given up with 109.0. I mean, this is a defense that cannot stop the pass. So yeah, they're great at pressuring quarterbacks, but quarterbacks have been carving them up like Thanksgiving Day turkeys. So it's like, okay here, Goff has gone up against a lot of pressure this year, and yet over the course of the year, he's posted top 5 numbers. Last week, against a better defense, when he was pressured on 46.7% of his dropbacks, he had a 130-plus passer rating and an 85-plus QBR with almost a 77 or 76% completion rate with 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and over 250 yards passing. Y'all seeing the thought process I'm putting down here? And then, let's think about it from this perspective really quickly. Like I said, we're going up against Matt Eberflus's defense. A defense that, like I said, is a defense that the Lions and Jared Goff is very, very familiar with. Would you care to gander what Jared Goff's career statistics are versus Matt Eberflus's defense, which was entirely with the Chicago Bears? Against Matt Eberflus's defense, including the one game after he was fired, but it was still his scheme that they were running, Jared Goff is completing 66.5% of his passes against that defense. He's got 1,445 passing yards, 7.6 an average a throw, 12 passing touchdowns for 6.3 touchdown percentage rate per throw, 5 interceptions with a 2.6 interception percentage rate per throw, a 99.1 passer rating, and here's the real stat, a 5-1 record. In the 6 times that Goff has gone up against Matt Eberflus's defense, he has won 5 out of 6 times. That's pretty impressive and pretty important information if I do say so myself. Now, there's more to this little nugget. It's not just all about Goff, and it's not just all about the past. It's not all just about what the Cowboys have done over the course of the season or what Goff has done over the course of the season. Take a look at this. When you take a look at the Cowboys defense over the last 3 weeks and the quarterbacks that they've played Geno Smith against the Raiders, Jalen Hurts against the Eagles, and Patrick Mahomes against the Chiefs. 2 of those quarterbacks are not exactly all that damn good in terms of passing in regards to Geno Smith and regards to Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback, but as a great passer, he is not. The only great passer, really, that you could say that the Cowboys have faced over the last 3 weeks is Patrick Mahomes. Why is that important? Well, when you take a look at the last 3 weeks that the Cowboys have gone up against those 3 quarterbacks, Patrick Mahomes absolutely shredded them. The fact that the Chiefs lost was more due to the fact of other things that were going on during that game rather than Patrick Mahomes' inability to play. He had 4 passing touchdowns in that game. Played a very excellent game against the Cowboys. The only reason the Cowboys won was because their offense just scored a few more points than the Chiefs did. But when you take a look at all 3 quarterbacks over the last 3 weeks, those quarterbacks against that Cowboys defense that has been god-awful atrocious against quarterbacks gave up 67% over those 3 weeks. Almost 800 passing yards, 6.9 an average a throw, 6 passing touchdowns, which is 5.2 touchdown percentage rate per throw, only 1 interception, which is 0.9 interception percentage rate per throw, with 100.2 passer rating. And the reason why I bring that up is because, as I said earlier, the Lions are going to want to throw the ball, right? But that doesn't mean they're going to want to abandon the run. They obviously want to run the ball still to at least keep that defense honest and guessing. Well, the reason why that's important is because how many rushing yards did the Cowboys defense give up in those 3 games? Against said quarterbacks that absolutely carved them up. They only gave up 209 yards. And most of that, I would say 60% of that came in the Chiefs game. I think the Chiefs had 119 yards rushing in that game that they just literally played. And then, furthermore, think about this. In those 3 games, the Cowboys won all 3 of them. But only one of those games did the Cowboys actually win a convincing victory. And that was against the Raiders, which was the first game. They won 33-16 against the Raiders, which that's not exactly, that big of an accomplishment because the Raiders are one of the worst teams this year. But against the Eagles, which are a playoff team, a team that barely beat us, and against the Chiefs, who are vying for a playoff team, and if not for the refs, they pretty much barely beat us. They only beat those teams by 3 points apiece. They beat the Eagles 24-21, and they beat the Chiefs 31-28. So the last 2 games against actual good teams, they were only able to eke out a victory. That's, again, rather important in my mind. And then finally, let me just put this little last bit of nugget, truth out there for you. Remember how I was talking about with the Cowboys defense that, they're tied 26th in completion percentage, which is the same as the Commanders? Remember how I said that they are ranked 31st in passing yards given up, the same as where the Commanders were when we played them in Week 10? Why is that important? Why did I go to such lengths to point out the fact that it's just like when we played the Commanders? Oh, because the last time that the Lions and Goff faced a defense that was particularly bad in terms of pass defense, Goff literally carved that defense up. This pass defense is just as bad, if not worse, than that Commanders defense is in terms of pass defense. It was Goff's second best game of the year. Again, the best game of which was against Matt Eberflus's old team, the Chicago Bears, in Week 2. But in that Week 10 matchup that Goff had, Goff was 25 of 33 for 75.8 completion percentage rate, 320 passing yards for 9.7 an average a throw, 3 passing touchdowns for 9.1 touchdown percentage rate per throw, 0 interceptions, which means 0 interception percentage rate per throw, 135.9 passer rating, and a 94.1 QBR. Now, obviously, we won that game against the Commanders 44-22, and obviously as well, Jahmyr Gibbs had a big day in that game, which I'm not saying that did not help. But here's what I am saying. For this game, running the ball is probably not going to be your best option to try and gain offensive momentum. Yes, run the ball to keep the Cowboys honest. But this goes back to what I've talked about earlier about Dan Campbell. Do not let your pride get in the way of, oh, we're just going to run the ball because that's what I want. No. Adapt. Think. Realize what is the best option here to get you points, to move the ball. It's not running the ball. Running the ball in this case is going to be able to set up other things. You're going to want to use the passing game to be your primary mode of attack in this game, not the running game. The running game is primarily to keep the Cowboys defense honest and guessing. It is not meant to be your primary mode of attack. That's going to be through the air. Not only do the statistics back it up for the entirety of this year as far as what the Cowboys have given up, but it also is backed up by how they've played against the last three quarterbacks that they've played, and it's backed up by how Goff has done this year, even in the face of enormous amounts of pressure, like he did against the Packers just this last Thursday, and like he's done over the course of the year. And on top of that, when you consider the fact that Goff, in a game that was against a pass defense that was just as bad, if not worse, comparatively, in terms of where the Cowboys are right now versus where the Commanders were in Week 10, Goff absolutely carved that defense up. So all the arrows are pointing to let Goff do his thing. Let the Lions out of their cage, let them play free, let them play loose. Use your knowledge of what you've done in the past against Matt Eberflus's defense, guide you, and take the knowledge that is available in terms of how this defense has played against other teams in terms of passing, and let that be your guide to use to make an offensive game plan. This team is ripe to get absolutely shredded through the air. We have Jamison Williams for this game. Whether or not we have Amon-Ra St. Brown, that's going to be a game-time decision, and I'm leaning more likely not, because that's just the way the Lions are. But you've also still got Isaac Tesla, you've also still got Tom Kennedy, and of course you've got Jahmyr Gibbs out of the backfield and David Montgomery. You've still got weapons. Use them to absolutely take advantage of the glaring weakness that the Cowboys have on defense. If I can find this literally by just sitting down and taking a look at numbers and back it up with every single thing that I have, which is not just the here and now, but in the past, the far past, then it should be a relatively easy thing to say, hey, this is our best mode of attack. Use it. That's all I got to say. But having now said it, I'm going to end this episode and say thank you all for watching yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. If you like what you saw, by all means, I highly encourage y'all to watch the next episode. Also encourage y'all to do this. If you enjoyed the content, I hope to gain your subscription. But if you subscribed in the past and forgot to do so at the time, or just subscribed and not yet had a chance to do so, want to make sure to also encourage y'all to hit that bell notification icon so that way you guys never miss any more content I push out. I hope y'all are doing well. Hope y'all got something in your life that makes you happy, makes you smile. God bless, my friends. And until the next time we meet, I'll see you all in the next episode.